Hey guys, welcome back to Carson and Beans. We have finally the week 3 recap. What a wild week. We're seeing like this season might be one of the best seasons I've personally watched so far. There's a lot of wow games, a lot of comebacks are happening. There's a lot of terrible teams beating really good teams. There's a lot of really good teams like playing pretty badly, and there's a lot of injuries. And I mean, it's a pretty wild season, so we're going to go through everything that happened in week 3. Not everything, of course, but all the big stuff. We're going to go through every single game and then talk about really only a couple injuries. We might actually have a segment about that. We'll see. And if you're wondering, never mind. So we're gonna kind of start it off with the. I was gonna say if you're wondering why the Thursday night game or the Monday night game isn't in here, I make separate videos for those. So on Friday I released a Thursday night recap that is on my channel right now. So if you're a Jaguars Dolphins fan or just someone interested in watching that, it is on my channel. And it should be pretty. It was uploaded just a couple of days ago, so it should be fine. And then Monday night games, I upload those on Tuesday. So if it's like Tuesday and you're looking for, and you're a Ravens or Chiefs fan and you're looking for that video should also be on my channel after this one. All right, let's go ahead and start off with the 1 o'clock games. We have 49ers versus Giants. I thought this would be a close one. You have Nick Mullins starting, and then you have George Kittle, who's injured. You have all of these injuries battering the 49ers, and I thought, they're probably still going to win, but I thought it'd be close. I thought, Nick Mullins would be able to hold him out, get a little win there while Jimmy G gets settled in, gets back from his injury, but they beat him 36-9. It was a blowout, really. The Giants didn't manage to score any touchdowns, 3 field goals there. They really didn't have any rushing attack. Freeman only had 10 yards. Daniel Jones was their top rusher. Their actual running backs only had like 30 yards all combined. So it really was a terrible. Once Saquon Barkley got injured last week, they had basically no rushing attack. Daniel Jones threw an interception. He didn't really throw for that much. Their offense really wasn't there, and obviously their defense allowed Nick Mullins to pop off with 36 points. So if I was a 49ers fan, I'd be feeling pretty good about this. So yeah, the 49ers managed to hang on to a win there, 36-9, and kind of clap the Giants. If I was a Giants fan, I wouldn't be happy. Next game we have Washington versus the Browns. If you're looking for someone to, as a Washington fan, to rant about this game, I posted that literally like 2 hours before I'm posting this one. So yeah, look out for that. But this is just going to be, me rationally talking about Washington. They showed some glimpses in the first and third quarter. They did manage to. They were up 7-0 at one point. Then they were down 17-7. They managed to rally, come back up 20-17, and then the Browns scored 17 points in the fourth quarter and won the game. It was in my opinion, it was a closer game than I think it was a closer game than the score shows. It was kind of back and forth a bit there. At some points the Browns played pretty terribly. Washington's defensive line, they lost Chase Young and Matt Ioannidis early in the game, 2 of their big playmakers on that defensive line, and they were still able to play pretty well. So the defensive line is still being one of the best in football. They kind of got to halt the Browns' rushing game. So this game we really kind of got to see how good Baker Mayfield is. He's making some good throws. We saw Kareem Hunt have like a really good one-handed backflip catch, kind of looked like an Odell Beckham Jr., that famous catch. Washington turned the ball over 5 times, and Dwayne Haskins threw 3 interceptions, all of which led to the Browns scoring touchdowns. So 21 points for the Browns came off of Washington turnovers. So, and 4 of those turnovers were all Haskins' fault. The 3 interceptions he had, he was staring down the receivers, and he threw the ball terribly, interception, and then he also fumbled the ball. And he fumbled the ball twice, so he recovered one of them. So really, it was not a good game for Washington. And they go up against the Ravens and then the Rams in the next 2 weeks. They do have a pretty easy schedule after that. Right now, it's not looking too good for Washington. The Browns, though, things are looking up. Next up, we have the Bengals and Eagles game. They actually ended a tie, the first tie of the season. Joe Burrow played really, really well. We saw him. Carson Wentz, terrible, 2 interceptions, only a touchdown. Miles Sanders carried the Eagles offense. They're kind of figuring out Carson Wentz isn't going to play very well, so let's just hand the ball off every play. And it worked. They did get a tie. They didn't lose. But still, Eagles fans, there's so many of them just thinking, Carson Wentz is going to lead us to the Super Bowl. It's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. So y'all aren't last in your division, but it's pretty bad. Can I just say, the entire NFC East is 2-9-1. That is terrible. 2-9-1. Just had to put that out there. Next up, we have the Raiders versus the Patriots. Thought this would be a good game, and the Raiders lost 36-20. It was pretty much a blowout here. The Raiders managed to score 10 points in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough really at all. Burkhead and Sony Michel for the Patriots really had good games. Burkhead, of course, getting 2 touchdowns. Michel over 140 yards. Derek Carr did have a really good game. He did kind of show up like he did last week. They did play really well, and that defense did manage to kind of stop Cam Newton. He threw only 1 touchdown and an interception. He only was able to carry for like 30 yards this game. He didn't get any touchdowns that way. So the Raiders, they kind of did figure out, they played really well in my opinion, better than the score entails, like a lot of these games are seeing. And I think the Raiders, there's good things coming. I mean, they look like a really good team out there, and they look like a team that's bound to go to the playoffs, which is pretty surprising in my opinion. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Bears-Falcons game. It was looking like it was over. It was the fourth quarter. What was the end of the third quarter? The Falcons are up 26-10. Mitchell Trubisky had thrown an interception and a touchdown and wasn't playing very well at all. And then starting in the fourth quarter, I guess the Bears were like, you know what? Mitchell Trubisky isn't looking too good out there. We're down by 16. It's the end of the fourth. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter. What could happen? And they put in Nick Foles, and Nick Foles leads them to a comeback. They score 20 points in the fourth quarter, and they win 30-26. Nick Foles having an amazing game. He seems to play his best whenever he's starting. So it's kind of like if he plays the way he's played this game, this is going to be like his, Eagles time, because he kind of has 2 different Nick Foles. You have the inconsistent kind of bad Nick Foles that, starts, we saw that on the Jaguars last year. We saw that kind of at the beginning of, I think a season, like 2 or 3 seasons ago. For the Eagles, we saw that. Or we're going to get great, clutch Nick Foles that saves their season. So right now it's looking like Nick Foles is playing at his best. Yeah, and the Falcons, they played really well for 3 quarters, and then they kind of fell off. So the Falcons, again, played really, really, really well, and they lost. They should have won 2 of those games. They should have beat the Bears, and they should have beat the Cowboys. They lost, let's just be honest. They lost pretty badly to the Seahawks, but still, they played pretty well in that game. Next will be the Rams versus the Bills. This was such a heartbreaking game because the Rams are down 28-3. They mount a comeback. They come back 32-28 with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're all thinking, what an amazing comeback. The Bills haven't scored since like the beginning of the third quarter. Yeah, it was like the very beginning of the third quarter was the last time they scored. We were all thinking, I guess it's over. The Bills make a last-second drive. They drive down the field. They score a touchdown. Bills win 35-32. Josh Allen had an amazing game. I mean, I can say I think it was over 300 yards again, maybe even 400. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Oh, he did throw an interception. My bad. He threw an interception. I don't know what happened, but the Rams, they've been playing really well. It was a really great game, and they managed to lose, so pretty good game there. That's all I really have to say. Next up, we have Texans Steelers. We all were hoping that this would be the game where the Texans kind of started to get rolling. Even though they weren't expected to win the first 2 weeks since they were playing pretty bad, really, they were playing the 2 best teams in the league. They still underperformed those first 2 games. They come out in week 2 looking great. They go into halftime up 28. No, not 28. They go into halftime up 21-17, looking very, very good, and then they don't score at all in the second half. So the Texans, they underperform again. Big Ben had a great game, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Texans fans, I'd be pretty sad about the DeAndre Hopkins trade right now because it's not looking like it's going to pay off. After this, we have the Titans-Vikings game. A return to form for the Vikings, finally, after 2 terrible games. I know they lost. Okay, let me just go and say, they did lose, I think it was 31-30. It was really, really, really close right there. Sorry, I forgot to write down the actual score of this game. Pass Carson, you're dumb. Did I put my name on the internet? Yes, I did. The Vikings, they were up at halftime, and they were playing really well, in my opinion. They stepped it up, and I mean, they played pretty well. Derrick Henry had a really good game. He's kind of been underperforming a bit the first 2 games. The Titans have been playing sloppily. Both of these teams stepped it up, had a really great game, and now the Titans are 3-0, and the Vikings are 0-3. But if they keep on playing like this, it looked like maybe they have like a rocky start, but then they're going to keep on going. I mean, good things are probably coming. Ryan Tannehill also had a good game. He had no touchdowns and interception, but he managed to throw for more than 300 yards. So I'd be pretty happy with that. The next game we have to talk about, not much to say, but the Panthers beat the Chargers 21-16. I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, I guess Herbert had a pretty bad game. No. Herbert actually had a really good game, over 300 yards, a touchdown, and interception. It was really the Panthers who... it was Teddy Bridgewater. They didn't really run the ball much at all, really. They didn't really do much rushing. It was all Teddy Bridgewater. He was making good plays. It was also Joey Sly, their kicker, who managed to kick 5 field goals in there. But he also missed an extra point. He was 5 for 5 on field goals and missed an extra point. So really, it should have been 22-16, but... it's whatever. The Chargers, they also went for 2 and failed. So really the Panthers, they look really well. Without Christian McCaffrey, it's like they kind of gave Teddy Bridgewater a game. They put a lot on his shoulders, and he carried it. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He looked great. Was throwing all kinds of good balls out there. They just didn't rush at all. So if they can take this, they're obviously showing in this game that they have a really good passing game. And once Christian McCaffrey gets back, if they can take that really good passing game that they still got a few weeks to, develop as Christian McCaffrey is injured, and they add Christian McCaffrey to that, the Panthers do still have hope for the season after watching this game. And also you have to look, when we saw in week 1 they had a really close game there with the Raiders, we all thought, oh, well, that's just the Panthers being bad and the Raiders being bad. Of course, you're going to have a good game. Now we're seeing that the Raiders are really good. So now we're seeing that the Panthers had a pretty good game against a Raiders team that we now see are really good. In week 2, they almost made a comeback against a really good Buccaneers. Now they go into a pretty good team of the Chargers, and they beat them. Are they actually pretty good is all I'm saying. So what it looks like now is that they had 2. So what we at first saw is that they had a close loss to a bad team and a pretty close loss to a good team. Was it a close loss to a good team? And you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the Panthers are better than we thought because their opponents are better than we thought they were when they played them. Does that make any sense at all? I hope it does. Maybe one person watching this, it would make sense. Let's get past that. We only got 5 more games left. So next up, we have the Jets playing the Colts. The Jets terribly playing in this one. 36-7. That's terrible. The Jets scored a touchdown in the first quarter and they were done. That was it. Darnold had a terrible game. A touchdown, I think it was either 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. I think that's what it was. I think it was 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Either that or it was 2 touchdowns. He had another terrible game. Get Adam Gase out of there. And by that, I mean fire him and send him packing. Because Sam Darnold, he has shown promise before, and he didn't in this game. Phillip Rivers, he's starting to get into this thing. They're starting to look like the team that a lot of people thought they were in the preseason. Week 1, they came out with a rocky start. These past 2 weeks, they have looked like a really good team, and now they are 2-1. Next, you want to talk about Cowboys, Seahawks. To no one's surprise, the Seahawks beat the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, he had an okay game. He threw 2 interceptions. He did throw for more than 400 yards for the second consecutive week. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they were mainly throwing the ball because the Seahawks defense completely stopped Ezekiel Elliott. He had like 34 yards in the whole game. Of course, Russell Wilson, 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. Dak Prescott also threw an interception on like 2 touchdowns. So right now the Cowboys aren't looking very good. They are 1-2. They are behind the Washington football team. The Washington football team is still the leader of the NFC East. Probably won't be the case next week. They're probably going to lose to the Ravens, and then they're probably going to be in 1-4. So right now, the Cowboys, y'all just got to wait a couple weeks. Y'all will get back up there, I'm assured. Unless y'all find a way to lose these next couple of games. We'll see. Next up, we have the Lions-Cardinals games. A lot of people thought this would be a huge blowout in the Cardinals' favor. But no, the Lions managed to win 26-23. And Kyler Murray had a terrible game. We just got to be honest. That Cardinals defense also had a pretty bad game. Adrian Peterson and Matthew Stafford did take advantage of that. They had pretty good games. Peterson, I think he had like 75 yards and only a couple touches. Matthew Stafford, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. If you don't know what I'm looking at my notes. I don't know if y'all are saying I'm like staring at the floor. Anyway, so the Lions managed to get their first win against the Cardinals out of all teams. Kyler Murray, 3 interceptions. This is by far his worst. This is by far his worst play of this season. I mean, really, really bad. 26-23 loss. So Cardinals. And I mean, don't get me wrong. DeAndre Hopkins is still looking great out there. It's just that he made some bad decisions and had some bad throws. Next up, second to last game, we have the Buccaneers versus the Broncos. The Buccaneers pull out the win. They managed to win at 28-10. Actually, towards the end of the game, with just a bit left in the game, the Buccaneers were basically had already won the game. The Broncos benched Jeff Driscoll and put in Brett Rypien. I don't even know how to say it. And the man, I mean, he played pretty well. He had 9 attempts, 8 completions, and the 1 incompletion was an interception. So that's just not very good on him. So they're possibly going to be putting in their 3rd string quarterback. This is about as disastrous as this season could have gone if Drew Lock isn't back in the game anytime soon, which I don't think he will be. He might be out for the season. This season's basically over. Sorry, Broncos fans, but it has to be said. You're 0-3 with your 3rd string quarterback starting, and you already weren't very good to start. No offense, but yeah, it's not looking very good. Like I said last week, it was a lot of for the Buccaneers. It was a lot about Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, that running game that really carried their offense. This game, it was all about Tom Brady. He had a 300-plus yard game, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He played really, really well. Definitely his best game of the season thus far. And they're stepping it up. They're playing like the team that a lot of people thought they would be. They're getting Gronkowski involved in there a bit, more than he has been these past couple of games at least. And also for the Broncos, Melvin Gordon had a bad game. They didn't really have a rushing game, and then they benched their quarterback. It's not looking good. And then the Sunday night game, which was a thriller, the Packers beat the Saints 37-30. It really was 37-27, but we don't talk about that. It was another onside kick that actually he kicked it like 8 yards. So yeah, both of these quarterbacks had a really great game, and they had 2 great quarterbacks. Lazard and Kamara both had more than 100 yards, and yeah, so it wasn't as high scoring as I thought it would, but it was still a pretty good game. And now the Saints are 1-2, and I think. No, okay, I was about to say I think they might be behind the Panthers, but no, the Saints have that divisional win. So that was week 3, other than the Monday night game, other than the Thursday night game. Again, those videos will be up on my channel. The Thursday night game, of course, already is. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do this every single week along with predictions. We do power rankings. We do previews for Washington games. We do all kinds of stuff every single week, constantly uploading. I have so you probably should subscribe if you're into football. Also, in my description you will find links to my Twitter and my Instagram. I'd be very, very grateful if you went ahead and followed those. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one. In fact, I know I will, or else. I thought I turned it off, but I didn't.